Welcome everybody, and I'm so happy you are here. My name is Miriam Meji, and I'm the host for today's webinar. The webinar is brought to you by Popular Robotics, a startup aiming to bring robotics and AI education to people around the world. And on Robocity, you can access courses, competitions, and skill paths and projects to teach you robotics. You can see this is the Robocity platform at robocity.com. And all right, so before we begin, I just want to note that today's webinar will be in the form of a panel discussion. And after that, if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat box and we can ask our guest speakers after the discussion. And this webinar will be recorded, so you can always watch the replay on Robocity's blog. I'm also going to send the link for that. And without wasting any more time, I think I'm going to kick it to the speakers now to introduce themselves. Anna, you can go first.
Okay. Hello, my name is Anna. I'm from Mexico. I am an engineer. I've been working in Huawei. I also lived in China for 1 year and a half or something. And currently I'm working on AT&T as an infrastructure engineer. And working on build startup on innovation for smart cities in Mexico with some other co-workers that are working in engineering. So yeah, that's me.
All right, Aydah.
Yes, thank you. First of all, hello everyone. Sot, Nari, Anna, really pleasure to be here to participate in this discussion. So briefly about me. So actually I'm representing a very interesting example and the case of the guy who is trying to break into AI with a very unusual path through leadership. So since 2 years ago until now, I've been building different AI communities. First started in Beijing with Beijing School of AI, then transformed to China School of AI, then Educate AI. So now I'm building Unpack AI with my partners. And the idea is actually to help people to translate to AI to break into, let's say, deep learning, as it's the hottest topic right now in AI is the most applicable for the business through running virtual boot camps and giving opportunity for people to interact with mentors, with high-profile classmates, and kind of imitate the real company environment that you'll have in any data science or AI company by interacting with people, by having good discussions, and first of all, having the reference of how is your track going on, and being accountable. We have lots of tasks to do. That course is very practical, so we believe we found very interesting model for people, to break into AI as quick as possible. And here we have Melly, one of our students, so he's also joining us. So good to have you, Melly, here too.
All right. I think Sot, you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Mary, and thank you again to Aydah and Anna for joining this webinar. Hi, everyone. My name is Sotirios Stasinopoulos. As you can see, it doesn't even fit in the small description under Zoom. It's a Greek name, so it's a little bit long. You can just call me Sot, S-O-T. As I said, I come from Greece, but I've been based in Beijing, China for the last 9 years. 9.5 now. I am an electrical engineer by bachelor's degree, and then master's I went into computer vision. I moved after that to China to do my PhD in automation and robotics, and I worked mainly with a lot of AI, let's say, algorithms for computer vision, for 3D let's say, point clouds and some mapping and localization. And after that, I joined a rather big robotics company here in China called Robotics. They are producing a lot of robots in the education and entertainment this project on robustity, and we're trying to get more these that are very formal in this sense, because like of course now it's super popular to, let's say okay, I have a career in deep learning, machine learning, but maybe a few years ago or like a decade ago, when people actually were starting to choose careers, it wasn't that popular, or you didn't know that this would blow up so much as in the last year. So we're trying to also bring people closer to this field, whether they have the formal background or not. So we're trying to get people to get some online learning tools through our platform Robocity, but we're also trying to build a community like Aydah is doing as well. So we're trying to help people connect with each other and try to gain the skills through the online tools that we provide or through each other. So the community is also a big part, and this is why we're also doing this like webinar today to educate more people. And then, yeah, apart from that, we're also working on some new projects with some new robotic hardware that we're developing lately, but that's still a little bit under the radar, so I cannot disclose too much information on that. But yeah, mainly you can find us through Robocity and let's say join some competitions online there, find some interesting projects that other people have created, so you can stay in touch with robotics and AI topics through our platform. So yeah, let's move on, and we'll talk more maybe about what we do throughout the questions that Mary will ask.
All right, so today we're going to cover a lot of important topics, including the AI disruption of the job market, the most highly paid jobs in AI, and the skills on how to land an AI job. And I think we're going to begin now. My first question will be for Sot. Can you define AI in the simplest terms possible?
Okay, well, I mean, of course, everybody knows that AI is artificial intelligence. I guess everybody knows, but I think people that are in this meeting, they are pretty much aware. So what is artificial intelligence is mainly a theory and a computer system. Like it's a theory and the computer systems along with that, that allows computers to perform some tasks that would normally require some sort of human intelligence. So we have human intelligence, and then we have artificial intelligence. So systems can perform tasks such as visual perception, recognition of some objects, speech recognition, decision making, or prediction of some, let's say, outcomes, or translation between languages. So in essence, what you have is like a computer-based system that takes in some inputs. It can process them through some algorithms or some models that process these inputs and provide some intelligent outputs, much like a human would produce. So we can use it to, let's say, recognize or predict some elements of the environment, but in essence is trying to get a machine to do what a human is able to do, or even better. So that is a key element of artificial intelligence, that it could also surpass human capabilities in a lot of aspects.
All right, thank you. My next question is for Aydah. Why do you think a lot of people are being fearful of AI?
It's actually a very interesting question. It depends, are you technology optimist or technology pessimist? It's also actually depends on which state in life you are, what is your background. Let's say in general, the biggest fear would be the fear of losing the job because of automation or because of augmentation, when all the power goes to the decision makers or who are already in power. This is where with augmentation, automation, they can actually replace all the people who are doing some kind of monotonous work, that when it comes to automation. And these people now in a very hard situation, in life situation, they already lost the job, they are insecure. So now they're looking what are the interesting options they have in life, and then they see, it's mostly about software, because software or AI, this is where the biggest growth for the companies and for the world in general in terms of GDP. And this brings also the pressure on people, because to break into these fields, and everyone wants to break into this field. That's why we're here talking about the most lucrative jobs. But to break into these things, you should have a proper background. You should have the timing, have some cash, because if you want to finish your transition, you have to invest some money into like a very good program, and that's very expensive. Or if you're joining some mass open courses, it's not very clear for you. How long does it take to make the transition? What is the reference for you? There's so many uncertainties in terms of with this. Secondly, actually technology breakthroughs is really good, because it lifts up people from poverty, and we'll see, if you see to the history, the life is getting bigger. So we live in a better world than our parents lived before. It's a good thing, but it also actually brings inequality, because people who have the cash and already in a good position can reinvest the money and get in a better position. Because again, AI, the companies with AI or AI-enabled companies, they grow way faster. So also it brings inequality. I'm not talking about like some kind of threats, like development of AGI that becoming super aggressive to people and like trying to wipe out the humanity. We're talking about the practical, real problems, and these problems again associated with inequality, associated with a job displacement and not being able to find a job. That comes to drivers of trucks or some other office clerks, etc., etc. So that's a big issue. Yeah. Can you unmute yourself, Mary?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, so thank you, Aydah. My next question is for Anna. And Aydah mentioned that the main reason why people are fearful of AI is because of jobs. So to what extent do you think that AI will replace jobs, and is it already happening?
Yes, thank you, Mary, for the question. Well, yes, it's already happening. AI is eliminating driver jobs such as taxi drivers, bus drivers, telemarketers, factory workers. And I mean, I think in China, even there are companies that already started using AI and they fire people. So their defect rate for products dropped by 20%. And so it's really useful for manufacturing and receptionists by using automated phoning. And in fact, there are hospitals in Belgium that are using robots that are taking reception duties, and also radiologists. Yeah, some of those are some examples. Nevertheless, it's still a really huge amount of jobs. I cannot say that every job will be displaced, but there are some that are already displacing.
Thank you. My next question is for Salt. What do you think the most lucrative AI jobs are, and how much do they earn on average? And like what industries or what countries are the top AI players right now?
Okay, many questions. I'll try to answer all of them one by one. If you can let me share my screen, I will share some info that I want to share with everybody. So if you can allow that, I will share something. Okay. So if you guys can see, I'm just sharing some data that I have found from Indeed, which is a platform for like job seekers. So it's mainly for the US, but it gives a good depiction of, let's say, jobs like throughout like different industries. So this is mainly jobs that pay more than $100,000 as an annual salary. And as you can see, of course, maybe in the top positions, you have some very specialized doctors. So yes, doctors get a little money. So if you are a doctor already, maybe you're not interested in changing in a career in AI. But apart from doctors, you see there are some positions, let's say as director of product management or maybe vice president of sales. These are like top positions in management and sales. But other than that, we have machine learning engineers, we have data scientists, we have some developers, senior software engineers. So as you can see, right under the positions like that are doctors, you have machine learning engineers, you have AI engineers, data scientists that are very close to AI in this sense. So I just want to show you this to make you understand like what are the positions of some very highly paid specialists and some positions of some machine learning engineers or AI engineers. So given that, I'll just move forward into like what jobs you think involve AI skills. So the top 10 jobs that involve AI skills are these positions, mainly machine learning engineer, deep learning engineer, senior data scientist, computer vision engineer, data scientist, algorithm developer, junior data scientist, developer consultant, director of data science, and lead data scientist. Of course, these positions are a little bit different. So as you can see, they're using AI in what they do in different proportions, let's say, but they all have some relevance to that. And then I'll go to the next one that actually does have the top paying AI jobs. So mainly this is answering the question of the whole webinar. But as you can see, these are some positions in the AI field that like get really high salaries. This data actually is from 2019. The 2020 is pretty similar to this, so it hasn't changed a lot. As you can see, mainly we have some data scientists that also are like highly in managerial positions, but then you have machine learning engineers, computer vision engineers, algorithm engineers. So these positions have some differences. For example, a machine learning engineer will try to create all those models or those, let's say, systems that can train those machines, those computers to get those, let's say, intelligent outputs after some training by using some data or by using a very good modeling of the world. There is like deep learning engineer, which this person mainly uses like more deep learning tools, deep learning such as deep neural networks, some other, let's say, advanced artificial intelligence methodologies. And then data scientists or data engineers, these mainly are good in processing like a very large amount of data so that they can get, let's say, some answers out of this, mainly for predictive knowledge. For example, even financial systems, insurance companies use these engineers. So this is like a good depiction of what jobs get paid the most. Of course, if you rise in experience and in position, if you're a manager, you'll get a higher paying position, but even entry-level positions can get pretty good salaries on that scale. And one more thing that I wanted to mention along with this is that you usually have these positions in different companies now, in different fields. It is not just high-tech companies that work with, let's say, driverless cars that need these engineers nowadays. It is not just, let's say, companies that work in robotics that need these engineers nowadays. You can have these positions in a lot of industries that were more traditional in the past. For example, let's say law firms may want a data scientist to organize their data a bit better. Some, let's say, even let's say medical companies want to keep track of their like patients' illnesses and how they were resolved and what costs were involved. So a lot of them can have some, let's say, data scientists or AI engineers that can organize systems that can, let's say, make their processes more efficient or lower costs by automating some processes. So these positions are highly paid, but I just want to make people understand that they're not only in traditionally high-tech industries, they are across many different industries. And this is something that is about the job market. So this is, as we mentioned, if you have AI in your CV, here you can see, let's say, how these jobs fare in the job market, how competitive they are. So you can see that a lot of these jobs that are very much AI related, they are not left open for a while, for a long time, meaning most of them have very small rates of, if they're still open after 60 days, that means these jobs get covered really fast. So if you are somebody that has a CV, somebody that posts a job for AI with these requirements, usually gets filled like quite fast. So the actual time to find a job is not that long if you have, let's say, skills like this, especially in this market nowadays. So this is more or less what I wanted to share regarding some data that we have for the job market. And just, you mentioned like, where do you find most of these jobs, or like which countries have most of them? Mainly, actually, to be honest, China is the leader right now in the world, with companies that require talent in AI and some machine learning, including mainly cities like Shenzhen, Beijing, and Shanghai. These are the main cities that have startups or tech companies that require these roles. Then, of course, USA, cities like New York, San Francisco, San Jose, and then like following them is Japan and the UK. Because, as I mentioned, it is not only about, let's say, robotics or high-tech companies, but also maybe finance uses a lot of, let's say, data science and machine learning to organize and predict a lot of models. So more or less, I hope that answered the question. Sorry, it took a bit longer.
Yeah, no problem. My next question is for Aydah. You are an AI educator, and I want to know what skills, both educational skills, both soft skills and technical skills, does one need for people who are starting an AI career?
Yeah, okay, thank you for the question. I just want to give the comments to what Saad shared very quickly. So this indeed really, it's an American-based platform. That's why we see, like, the distribution of the professions as it's there. For example, I'm coming from a different country. I'm coming from Russia, for example. Medical professions will be very low paid, let's say $1,000 per month, while machine learning position will be like $3,000 or $4,000. Right? So actually, if you're breaking into AI, you have better chance. That also applies actually for any developing country. If you're coming from African continent, I think if you have access to the computer and to the internet, you have a higher chance, to land your dream job, or like, secure a life, because like AI is very emerging industry, and it's the professions are in very high demand. So that's kind of my first comment. Now coming back, to what skills you should develop. Obviously, again, depending on your position, I would say if you're already industry professional, let's say you're the professional coming from oil and gas industry, and you're thinking whether should you study machine learning, Python, whatever skills are necessary, to let's say break into deep learning. I would say yes. You should study with Python. Then you should look into use cases where you can start applying the skills. Let's say there are many applications right now in any industry that require some statistical approaches, that requires some numerical approaches, and lots of information coming from the sensors, right? And lots of data in different industries. So looking into use cases, it's the most important step. Of course, you have to polish your coding skills, right? You have to get some kind of the skills are necessary to tackle, you know, this data. That's why you know, start looking into the online content. And honestly, there is so much online content there. Whatever, you go on YouTube, right? There are like courses from Stanford. There is amazing platform that saw this building Robostater. Lots of content. Try to cycle yourself as quick as possible until you have some kind of basic skills, and come back, you know, to your own industry where you're working at the moment, and try to apply those skills to solve real practical problems. That will actually help you to break into it as quick as possible. So you'll probably end up as data analyst or data scientist for your industry. And if you completely want to disassociate yourself from your industry, it will take maybe another year with some successful case of applying data science, deep learning, machine learning, and then you can be so-called AI practitioner, whatever. It will be data scientist, data engineer, machine learning, or whatever when you deal with, you know, with machine learning or deep learning. So that would be the case. If you're a student, start learning Python, right? Because Python is one of the main languages when it comes, you know, to using deep learning. If you're industry expert, I suggest, I know in terms of the time, like, you know, learning Python data science packages super hard. Start looking into very high level solutions from Amazon, from Google, or from other AI service providers, and play with your data. That will be enough for you to build some kind of confidence that AI can be transformative for your organization or for what you're doing. And then dig deeper until you go to Python then, and then you'll be also called, you know, full stack AI practitioner. So those are the tips. Again, there is no definite answer. You have to look into your background, obviously, your position in life.
All right, thank you, Aydah. My next question is for Anna. It's about the gender imbalance in tech careers. I know that there are not a lot of women in tech careers. According to the National Science Board, women compose about 28% of the science and engineering workforce. So I just want to ask, like, what it's like for you working in this industry, and for other women, like, how do you think this imbalance can be improved?
Okay, so well, that's true. Working in a male-dominated industry is quite challenging. Nonetheless, it's a rewarding road. We women shouldn't go through all these stressors, such as like having the feeling that you have to prove yourself, struggling to make your voice heard or speak firmly. Discrimination or subtle forms of bias also, or even question ourselves. We even question ourselves if to study or work in any career science related, like if we still need to pursue it. But we can do it. We should pursue it actually. Actually, women around the world most empower themselves know that they can do it, and most empower themselves to achieve whatever task they engage into. I think it's the practice of today's work that will make tomorrow's difference, and both women and men perform the same way. We just need to treat each one equally and help each other. So steps that can be taken to improve imbalance, I would say, to begin with, we have to have empowering mentors For example, having more women in management roles, creating supporting teams. This is especially important for female workers because it is crucial, a catalyst for a team development within any organization. I think if an organization experience gender dynamic, then the better it will perform. And validate and recognize women's work is important. So the next generation of girls have role models to follow and be inspired by them. I think there are many stereotypes that need to be broken, and also create spaces for both women and men to practice collaborative work and models and respect and so on. And I think like as the time goes on, as a female engineer, like the understanding of these problems is better. That does like after a while you tend to engage less in this kind of behaviors. So if you manage to fulfill some of these points, you'll empower young talents that be happy to look forward to work in these environments that are friendly and also inspiring to growth. Yeah, actually, like recently I've been growing a lot because I've been hanging out with the right people, and I believe it's like much more like collaborative work, and like asking some questions from really good mentors and other women too. And I have also like role models to follow, and I experience a really nice growth. And also it's the change of mindset on some people, so we can achieve like more balanced work. And like I believe that there are many other girls that would like to engage on the science, but probably people would think it's like really difficult to go, but it is not. It's just the practice and good mentorship and believing that you can do it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. My next question is for Sot. Apart from having the necessary skill sets and education, like Aydah mentioned, for people who want an AI career, what tips or what do you recommend to them to improve, for example, their job application or their CV, or yeah?
Okay, well, this is quite interesting, like at this period of time, because we are just going through some recruitment period over for a new project that we're creating, a robotics project that does require some AI engineers. So what I look into some CVs when I'm trying to, let's say, determine if somebody has the skills that I need, of course, are related to my project, but in general, I look, first of all, apart from whether they have studied in a university or not, or whether the major is that, first and foremost, I look into if they have projects, meaning projects like on a specific application that is close to the application that I want to develop. Meaning, if somebody is applying for a job in the AI field or something that is related to AI, they better have some project that is relevant to that field. Meaning, if I want to build a robot, let's say, that has a capability of maybe detecting some specific object, and I see some engineer or somebody, even if they haven't been, let's say, formally educated in this specific field, but if they have done projects that are related to exactly the task I want. For example, if they say, oh, I worked for that company, or I did an internship that had this specific project that is related to what I want, then I will definitely call him in for an interview. If no project that they have done is relevant to what I want to build, then it will be smaller chances. So first of all, definitely work on more projects, even if it's not projects within a specific let's say company. You can take on projects on your own. You can find projects online, and you can showcase your skills by having experience in some projects that are in the field. Second of all, I kind of mentioned it, is like internships. If you have the skills, then it's better to have some of course, if you have experience in other companies that do the same thing, then of course, great. But if you haven't reached that level, or if you are trying to reach that level, then it's better to do an internship in a position that is relevant to what you want to do afterwards. So for example, if you don't have any concrete experience in one specific AI field, but you still want to get a job there, then take an internship, even if it's unpaid. Just try to see if with an internship in that position you can get some skills, but also you will show a future employer that you have you understand what it takes. You have the skills and the capabilities of fitting in a position like this. And then apart from, let's say, as I said, project and internships, a proof that you can learn fast. Of course, this is not something that you can put easily in your CV, or you can state it. Like, okay, I can self-learn, but learning and learning new things is very crucial for AI, because AI is developing really fast these years, and what was, let's say, state of the art 3 years ago or 4 years ago is not state of the art right now. So it's a quite fast changing field that of course, you can have some tools or some skills that can be applied, but it's more important for an employer to see that you actually can learn fast something new, or maybe a framework that is used by that company, than let's say showing you have very, very detailed experience or very, very detailed knowledge in, let's say, I don't know, some concrete physics. So as I said, the ability to learn fast is also very important in our field. So make sure that your employer understands that you can do that, and that you can do it on your own, because nobody has time to teach you how to use something new. Usually you can learn it on your own, or in the first period of like entering a company, you'll have to learn something new. So these main 3 things for me. Of course, like, skills and tools are very important for you and your CV, but having more projects that are relevant to the work, having internship and some sort of experience, even if it's not a formal experience in a company, and learning fast, and the ability to prove that you can learn fast something new.
Thank you. My next question is for Anna. I want to ask, for those who don't want an AI career, but are concerned about how AI will impact their jobs, what kind of advice or professional development do you think they should get now to prepare them for the era of AI? I mean, for them to still remain relevant.
Okay, so well, you actually need to develop your soft skills. The soft skills will never be replaced. This is like human skills, such as like critical thinking, creativity, teamwork, empathy, create and develop new ideas, and long life learning, culture, curiosity as well. So for robots or AI agents, you don't need, well, they do not have as much as creativity as we humans do. So you need to practice this like skill set. And I believe this era will create more opportunities and a new way to look at life. So it's better to ask yourself, like, what would you do if you spend less time in tasks that are merely repetitive, and spend more time outside? Yeah.
Thank you. And my last question is for all of you. Through your career, what tips would you give people or anyone who is interested in starting an AI career? It could be something you learned professionally or personally. Like, what would you recommend? I think, Sot, you can answer first.
I mean, yeah, I won't take too much time, because I'm pretty sure the other 2 speakers also have a lot of tips to give. For me, I will just, again, go with 3 things. First of all, get some bases, some tools that are used in a lot of situations. So while you're getting in, and while you're trying to make a career change, or when you're trying to, let's say, even start studying in this, let's say, path, like get a programming skill. Like Python is quite popular, as Aydah said, and it's quite commonly used. So maybe start with Python. There are some other programming languages or some other frameworks for, let's say, data analysis. But in general, like learn Python as a first step is important. Then get some extra tools that are commonly used, such as TensorFlow or PyTorch. They are used in the industry and they are actually sought after. So a lot of employers ask to see them in the CV. And then if you can afford that, then also try to get something like in math. I know a lot of people may not like math in specific, but to understand some of the concepts, if you want to go in more depth, then maybe you need some probability theory, statistics, or linear algebra to get you to understand a bit better. But as I said, learning how to use some tools and some programming languages are like good enough to get you in an entry level. But the more you go forward, if you want to go more in depth, then you may need a little bit of math as well to accompany that. Then apart from that, as I said, try projects in different fields, see which one you like best. There are a lot of open projects online. There are a lot of competitions online as well. We also have some on Robocity. You can also take some in Kaggle. They are also doing some data science competitions. So I have seen, for example, CVs that even though they didn't have formal education in, let's say, automation, AI, computer science, but they did show through some competition results that they did quite well. It means that they can actually like produce results. So that kind of convinced me as an employer to give them a chance. And then last one is, as I said, get more specialized knowledge after you decide which part you like the best. Because as I mentioned, there are a lot of types of data. There's vision, like computer vision, there is like audio processing, there's financial data analysis, like other types of data science that you can focus in. But if you find something that you think you're good at, take more projects and maybe even take an internship, and that will convince somebody to give you a chance if you're just breaking in. Of course, if you're already in the field, then just show that you have worked a lot in this industry and in relevant projects, and you'll have more chances. More or less, that's it for me.
Okay, Aydah?
Yeah, so again, where's your point A and what is your point B? So if, for example, if you're a software developer, that will be the easiest thing for you to go to machine learning engineer or to data scientist, right? And you have lots of complementary skills. That's one part of the problem. Another part of the problem, if you're a guy, for example, coming from, let's say, from the financial industry, right? How to get to the machine learning engineer position. I would be very careful to go there because you don't want to do that because you have lots of things to study and you have to look into your complementary skills. So I will start something to look into the data analyst skills. So yes, learn some Python on the way. Look into some pandas or any numerical package that help you to analyze the data, then produce very nice graphs, reports, some kind of business intelligence for decision makers, and on the way dig deeper into things that will get it to the final point. For example, if you're coming from marketing position, what could be the nice point B? Again, if you will be able to kind of optimize the marketing channel, that will be the way. And then again, dig deeper again. So there is no obvious path. If we're talking about getting to the data science position, it's hard. So I would suggest look into your core competency and see how you can apply whatever deep learning or machine learning. Build very simple models. Start with a, let's say, simple classification model, let's say in computer vision, and see if you can apply that to your industry. Build the confidence. That also applies for the companies. Build little confidence, have little wins, get the confidence, and move on. again, let's look into each case individually. I don't have like the definite universal answer for everyone.
Thank you. Anna?
Okay, so as my other colleague said, you can start with the basics, learn to code. It's fundamental. Try to play with code. You can learn either R or Python, and then you can try to solve some problems interesting with code. There are actually web pages where you can improve your coding skills, like coding games. I've been using coding games a lot, and do some maths too. It's really fundamental if you really want to understand much more what is going on with all these algorithms, and it's really crucial and it's really important. I found it really important that you develop a genuine interest on understanding this more, because it can be difficult at a time but not impossible. So try to understand a little bit more what are the practical cases, and then you can find like a really interesting things to do with this, because AI does really interesting things. I think play with technology. It's all about playing with technology. Use books, ask for mentoring, and most importantly, like, do not let the bosses get you down. Like no, like there may be other people that say like, no, this is really hard, man, I cannot do it. No, just try to do it. You can really apply and learn AI. It's really interesting, and I found it like really after a while, like really rewarding to understand this concept, because like there are a lot of things that you can do with it. So yeah. Oh, Mary, I think I cannot hear you.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, so that comes to the end of our discussion. And before we move to the Q&A session, I just want to invite everyone to fill in a survey that we're going to send immediately after the webinar. We'd like to get your feedback on the webinar, so thank you in advance. So I'm going to go through the chat box now to see any questions. Right, so Joshua, Linda said, is it because they are Silicon Valley based and thus need high salaries with high housing costs?
Okay, I'll answer to that because it was me that showed the charts. Sure, this data about the exact number of, let's say, how many $1,000 they get per month is US based, but this happens. I mean, all of these professions are not only in Silicon Valley, and even doctors live in Silicon Valley, like from that chart that I showed. So it's not just for that reason. Of course, maybe in a country that has a lower GDP, they would be adjusted accordingly. Maybe you wouldn't get, let's say, more than $100,000 annually if you got a job as an AI engineer. However, it would still rank very high among your country's, let's say, highest paying jobs. So it depends, of course, on the GDP of the country and the living standards. But like according to that, they are still the most like one of the most highest paying jobs. And yeah, I wanted to actually get back to what Aydah said about doctors. I mean, you saw the specialties like in the most highest paying jobs. They spend years and years to reach that level of specialization. Doctors, they need to get, let's say, through more than 7 or 8 years of, let's say, studies and training, and then they don't reach those, let's say, high tiers of payment unless they have a lot of experience. So there are not that many doctors that can get those high paid jobs. Whereas with AI and let's say those positions that we showed, you can actually reach levels like this with, let's say, a retraining program that could be only, let's say, 2 to 3 years if you want to reach, let's say, also a higher level of that. But you could even take in an entry-level job if you commit maybe even less than a year of your life into this change. it all depends, of course, on how committed you are. So yes, of course, Silicon Valley and the States pay, just to go back to the question, yes, they play a role into like the numbers that I showed, but proportionally still machine learning engineers get paid highly no matter where they are.
Yeah, thank you. The next question is from Mulele S. Does development of AI depend on human ingenuity?
Aydah, do you want to take that?
Okay, I believe any highly paid job depends on human ingenuity. So I don't think like AI is different from that. Definitely, if you are developing some abstract AI models, especially if you're involved in AI algorithms, this is what development of AI means. This is where you have to apply and creation and core skills and all these practical skills, for example writing the code. uh, it is. So I'm not sure, maybe Mulela can, if he's here or she, I'm not sure from the name, I can't say the she or he, maybe if he's here, maybe he can like explain the question so maybe you can understand better.
I don't think the person is here anymore.
Maybe I can just complete a little bit. Of course, as Aydah said, yes, it does depend on human ingenuity at this level because we make the AI systems. But later on, I mean, the goal is to make AI that makes AI. So let's see how that goes. So later on, we may create an AI that can also reprogram some systems to have more, let's say, autonomous behavior. So we'll see if we reach that stage and when, but for now, it still does depend on human ingenuity.
Yeah. So let's also talk about AutoML, and then he actually gets into AGI possibly. But yeah, that's a very interesting topic. I'm not sure about the question though. That's why it's kind of confusing for me to really fully answer.
Yeah. So the next question is, how can AI be applied to filmmaking or other creative industries for sorts?
Okay, I'll take that one because yeah. So actually, I have because I saw that question earlier. I was thinking of examples that I've seen so far. So we have, let's say, some cameras that are on, let's say, robotic braces that can be programmed to move autonomously, and they can also use computer vision to track specific objects and don't let them go. Also, that is used by drones. We have that like already applied in a lot of commercial products. So we have drones that are able to target an object and keep tracking it and move around with it. So that is quite useful for filmmaking. And other creative industries, and especially in the film industry, because Joshua asked for this, you actually now have virtual actors that are AI created, meaning, of course, the graphics are designed by people usually, or they can be even synthesized by AI. But you have this virtual, let's say, personality that can, through AI, develop, let's say, autonomous like behavior and autonomous, let's say, conversation with other actors or other people. So you have the looks can also be synthesized by, let's say, AI, and even the intelligent interaction can be programmed with AI. So we even have some famous, let's say, one or two famous actors or actresses. I don't remember their names now, but they are making a lot of money, but they are just virtual characters. They are not real actors. So you can look into that if you're interested in how this can be applied in the film industry. But a lot of different ways that can be applied for. And also deepfakes. A lot of, I mean, I don't know if you are familiar with what deepfakes are. They were quite popular in the last few years. You can have, let's say, a specific video showing somebody doing something, but it's not actually them, it's somebody else's body, and then you reattach their face, that you, let's say, transfer a different face onto them. This has been used in a lot of films lately from actors that died, or there are other, let's say, AI techniques to create de-aging filters. So a lot of, let's say, applications of AI into the film industry.
Yeah, I also want to add something.
Okay.
Can I add, for example, there is a very interesting meme I don't see, right? You don't see that one. So
We don't.
yes, so yes, the video, you know, like you actually can make, you know, again, as you said, you talk about the deepfakes, right? You talk about the GANs, so general adversarial networks. It's actually a big topic right now in deep learning, in AI. Actually, it's not like really deep learning, but let's say it's AI. With that, you can really generate different images. You can actually ask, for example, AI to depending what you type in, to generate any object. And so it's DALI type of model from OpenAI. So it can actually create the objects from what you type, because it can search quickly through the internet. Again, it knows a lot about like internet, about natural language processing, and it maps, you know, to the images it was fed to, and with that it can quickly map, for example, what you type. For example, make me the avocado chair, and then it can quickly, for example, make avocado chair. So that will be already the application. Deepfakes, right? That's another thing. Also, there is actually a new genre in filmmaking. This is where you ask AI to generate the script based on natural language processing models, and then it can create the script, and you're just shooting the video based on this script. It's becoming completely nonsense, but you know, there are people saying, wow, actually it makes sense. And you start seeing that machine learning can also be creative, and there is like also the direction machine learning creativity or AI creative. So I would say there is so much potential also for artists and creative people, how they can utilize AI in their profession.
It's almost time. We have 1 minute left. Maybe Anna can answer this from Melly S. Machine learning engineers' jobs frequently require masters or doctorates. It's hard to break in. How do you get a relevant job?
It doesn't necessarily require a master's or a doctorate, but it's really useful too. It's a different education, but still, if you can develop some ideas using machine learning by learning by yourself, perhaps like solving some coding problems or Kaggle competitions, then you can prove that you can do machine learning, you can do it. The master's degree or the doctorate, it'll make you much more professional within this field, but still you can try, still you can learn, and yeah, you can learn the skill.
And I'll just complete one. Thank you so much, Anna. Just because we're almost out of time. As I said, while we're recruiting now, I also have seen people that have made transitions to AI, like some, let's say, hardware engineers that were just like doing 3D, let's say, design. They have switched onto AI. And the way to convince me, even though they didn't have formal studies in this, is just they did show me projects. Either they did show me, let's say, competition results, or they did show me, let's say, even internships where they did projects like this. So projects experience through internships. If nobody actually hires you, then you can even do it for free. But an internship is experience. So try to get things like this and try to get projects in the field of the company that wants to hire you.
All right, thank you so much. So that's the end of our webinar today. So I just want to remind our participants to please fill in the survey that will be sent after this webinar. And I thank you, Anna, Salt, and Aydah for joining us today. It was really interesting, and I really learned a lot. So I think that's the end. See you guys.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
everyone.
Anna.